Kamala Harris is the Democrat candidate for president of the United States. I'll give you a second to come to. The border czar who couldn't find our southern border on a map of Texas now wants to be America's commander-in-chief. Kamala couldn't lead a campfire sing-along, let alone the country's armed forces.
Kamala Harris just got tag-teamed in the comedy octagon by Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus. And let's just say it wasn't pretty. Imagine bringing a water gun to a flamethrower fight. That's how badly she got roasted, from awkward laughs to political bloopers. Nothing was safe. And if you thought late-night TV was dead, this might just be its resurrection tour. Buckle up, because this takedown makes a demolition derby look like a polite tea party.
When they asked her about the gun.
Yes.
And I got a Glock. What kind?
Yes.
And her answer was,
Yeah.
And Those were invented by nervous white people around black people.
So Kamala Harris must have thought she could slide through politics with the same awkward cackle she uses to answer every tough question. But Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus were having none of it. The two unleashed a roast session so brutal, it made Kamala look less like the vice president of the United States and more like the world's least convincing improv comedian, stuck on stage with no script. If you thought her word salads were bad before, Greg and Tyrus turned them into compost.
I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future.
You know, that's some bad weed. Generally, when people get high, they actually have some interesting thoughts.
And the VP Harris, she won't go to the border, probably because she'd rather take the magic school bus to the moon.
You guys are gonna see. You're gonna literally.
Kamala has this unique ability to make every speech feel like an elementary school book report that wasn't finished on time. You can almost see the sweat as she repeats the same phrase 3 different ways, convinced that if she says it enough times, it might actually mean something. Greg Gutfeld seized on that, laughing about how Kamala's speeches sound like they were generated by a malfunctioning magic 8-ball. Tyrus piled on, pointing out that her inspiring lines could just as easily be instructions on the back of a shampoo bottle. Repeat, lather, and hope nobody notices there's no substance.
The Biden administration has promised to beef up security for President Trump, using the same agents that protect Kamala from reporting.
With your own eyes, I'm telling you, it is gonna be unbelievable.
With your own.
And let's talk about the laugh. That infamous misplaced high-pitched cackle that pops out every time she's caught off guard. Most people answer tough questions with facts. Kamala answers with something that sounds like a hyena choking on a kazoo. Greg couldn't resist dragging it, joking that her laugh has replaced sirens as the official warning system in Washington. Tyrus, with his signature deadpan delivery, said it's less a laugh and more like a car alarm that goes off when someone brushes against the bumper.
Kamala's audience squirms as she yaks about pachyderms. Our video of the day comes to us from the former VP who made her first major speech last night since Trump took office, and it was another classic ball of verbal vomit. Here she is referencing a viral video of elephants. Watch.
Who saw that video from a couple of weeks ago? The one of the elephants at the San Diego Zoo during the Earth.
You know what happened, Greg? The teleprompter went up and they cheered too long.
Yeah.
And she panicked because all she could remember, she couldn't remember the connection word. So she panicked. This ain't close, I'm telling you.
God bless. Good night. That's my time. Every time Kamala tries to play serious leader, it backfires. She leans in, widens her eyes, and delivers some vague inspirational line about working together for the future of tomorrow today, for the people who are the people of tomorrow, and somehow expects applause. Greg mocked it by pretending to take notes as if Kamala was giving a lecture, then reading it back out loud only to realize it sounded like an inspirational poster written by a cat. Tyrus doubled down, saying listening to Kamala talk is like listening to someone try to explain the plot of Inception after 2 bottles of wine. Confusing, circular, and guaranteed to put you to sleep.
Next to each other to protect the most vulnerable. Think about it. What a powerful metaphor.
Yeah. It's almost like they built a wall.
Kat, there's worse things that you can say to people.
Yeah.
But I help people who harm people. God bless, good night, that's my time.
And her record, oh boy, her record, Greg and Tyrus tore through it like a buffet. She was supposed to be the border czar, remember? Except the only borders she seemed to care about were the ones on her cocktail napkins. Greg quipped that she treated the border like a New Year's resolution, enthusiastic for about 2 weeks, then forgotten. Tyrus chimed in that her strategy at the border seemed to be laugh loudly enough and hope the problem gets scared away. Spoiler, it didn't. Of course, Kamala's defenders say she's breaking barriers as the first female vice president. Greg wasn't buying it. He mocked the idea that simply showing up was enough, comparing it to someone bragging about being the first person to bring a potato salad to a barbecue. It only matters if the potato salad is edible. Tyrus cut even sharper, saying Kamala's biggest accomplishment so far has been proving that breaking glass ceilings doesn't automatically make you qualified. It just means the janitor has more work to do. And then there's the way she handles interviews. Watching Kamala in a sit-down Q&A is like watching a student try to talk their way through an essay they didn't read. The stammering, the repetition, the wide-eyed grins, it's all there. Greg laughed about how she treats every question like it's a riddle from a children's show. Tyrus added that Kamala's the only politician who could make answering what is your job sound like a 3-part mystery novel.
So I have an actual copy of the book here. There it is, isn't that lovely? 107 Days. I wasn't sure if she actually had written the book herself, yeah, she definitely has. Check this out, huh? Look at that. With every copy, Fireball cinnamon whiskey. It's a great cross.
Greg and Tyrus didn't even have to work that hard. Kamala supplies the material. Every awkward speech, every empty statement, every misplaced laugh is like a gift wrapped in incompetence. Greg pointed out that if late-night comedy ever runs dry, all they need to do is press play on a Kamala clip. Tyrus nodded, adding that she's single-handedly keeping impressionists employed across the country. And let's not forget her attempts at diplomacy. She was sent overseas to represent America, but somehow managed to come off as the confused tourist at every stop. Greg joked that she treats international summits like awkward dinner parties where she's not sure which fork to use. Tyrus imagined her prepping for meetings by Googling how to look important while nodding. It's one thing to be unprepared. It's another to look like you're discovering world politics for the very first time. The contrast between her and her role couldn't be more hilarious. She's the Vice President of the United States, yet somehow every appearance feels like a bad audition for a reality show. Greg described it as watching a stand-up comedian bomb on stage, but refusing to leave the mic. Tyrus said it's like watching the backup quarterback suddenly forced to start the Super Bowl, and instead of throwing the ball, she just laughs nervously and hopes the game ends early. And then there's the obvious. Nobody takes her seriously. Not her colleagues, not her staff, not even the people in her speeches who clap politely like they're at a piano recital. Greg mocked the fact that even the teleprompter looks exhausted when she speaks, scrolling slower out of pity. Tyrus said her approval ratings are so low that even her laugh has started polling badly. Kamala's gonna write a book.
I don't think Kamala will ever hold public office again.
Better not.
I don't think you can come back from. It wasn't that she was outfoxed.
Lost,
it wasn't that she lost. I think you can certainly lose an election and run a good election and still.
Kamala's gonna write a book.
Since leaving office, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, talking with my team, my family, my friends, and pulling my thoughts together. In essence, writing a journal that is this book, 107 Days. With candor and reflection, I've written a behind-the-scenes account of that.
You know, she just slapped a cover around like a farmer's almanac.
But the most brutal part of the takedown came when Greg and Tyrus highlighted the gap between Kamala's image and reality. She wants to be seen as a trailblazer, a visionary, a leader for the future. Instead, she's become the internet's favorite meme, the punchline to her own story. Greg summarized it as Kamala proving that being historic doesn't necessarily mean being competent. Tyrus sealed it by saying history will remember her, yes, but mostly as the vice president who made everyone grateful for mute buttons. The more she tries to defend herself, the worse it gets. Watching Kamala Harris navigate politics is like watching someone play chess, but only moving the pawns back and forth while giggling. Greg laughed at how she seems to confuse leadership with enthusiasm, as if clapping loudly enough will make problems solve themselves. Tyrus, ever the realist, said she's basically the human version of a screensaver. She moves around a lot, but nothing meaningful actually happens. And the irony of it all? Kamala was supposed to be the future of the Democratic Party, the bright star, the fresh face, the one to carry the torch. Instead, she's turned into a late-night comedy sketch that never ends. Greg joked that Democrats are probably Googling return policy for vice presidents. Tyrus finished the punchline with, "No refunds, no exchanges." The roast went on and on. But one thing was clear, Greg Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't just poke fun at Kamala Harris. They demolished her. They exposed the emptiness behind the titles, the incompetence behind the smiles, and the chaos behind the laugh. And in doing so, they reminded everyone that sometimes the funniest comedy isn't scripted at all. It's just Kamala Harris trying to do her job.
Freedom to be safe from gun violence, freedom to have access to the ballot box, freedom to be who you are and just be.
See, my guess is she's making an argument for assisted suicide.
No, you're 1,000% right, because his homeboy was sitting next to him. He said, no matter what you ask her, the answer's going to be Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then he looked at him like,
The
damn,
funniest
how did
thing
you know
about
that? He's
Kamala
like, I've seen
Harris
this.
is
It
that
was
she
a bet.
seems genuinely shocked whenever people don't buy what she's selling. It's like she stands at the podium, delivers a word salad so long it could qualify as a side dish at Olive Garden, and then acts surprised when people are confused. Greg Gutfeld joked that Kamala is the only politician who can make a 5-minute speech feel like a 3-hour TED Talk on nothing. Tyrus leaned in with his classic shrug and deadpan, saying her speeches are basically GPS directions where the voice gets stuck, repeating, recalculating forever. Her press appearances are even better. Reporters ask her serious, straightforward questions, and Kamala responds like a kid caught stealing cookies, wide-eyed, nervous, and ready to change the subject. Entertaining at first, but then you realize nothing is actually happening. Tyrus topped it off by adding that if Kamala were in a courtroom, even the jury would fall asleep before she finished her opening statement. And don't even start on her infamous big speeches. She delivers them with the kind of enthusiasm that would make you think she just solved world hunger, but the content is so hollow you could fit her entire policy agenda into a fortune cookie. Greg laughed about how her writers must be trolling her at this point, slipping in random phrases like the significance of the passage of time just to see if she notices. Tyrus agreed, saying Kamala could read the back of a cereal box and still manage to make it sound like she's giving a national address. It doesn't help that her staff keeps quitting on her. People flee her office faster than guests leaving a bad dinner party. Greg pointed out that if Kamala ran a restaurant, the chefs would be gone by the end of the first week, leaving her alone in the kitchen, nervously laughing while burning the bread. Tyrus, never one to miss the knockout punch, said the turnover rate in her office makes fast food look stable.
She's not going to run for California governor, but she's going to do this book. Do you think she's actually going to put anything truthful in it?
In the book?
Yeah.
No, 2 words, ghostwriter. Even her ad for this was so obviously like she was reading it for the first time. Talk about robotic. We've written books and talked about it on air, and it is so obvious when you are talking about something you know and that you did. She's like, and this is that book, 107 Days. I mean, it's horrific. It looks like a hostage video.
Always the laugh. That misplaced, uncontrollable, shrieking cackle that shows up at the worst possible times. Greg mocked it as the official soundtrack of confusion, while Tyrus said it's basically her version of an error message. Imagine trying to negotiate with foreign leaders and suddenly bursting out into that laugh. It's no wonder other countries look at America and think these people can't be serious. Her foreign trips are legendary disasters in themselves. Every time Kamala steps off a plane abroad, it feels like she's about to star in a travel vlog titled Confused in Europe. Greg imagined her sitting in high-level meetings with a notepad, doodling flowers, and pretending she understands the discussion. Tyrus said she approaches diplomacy like a tourist, trying to order food in a country where she doesn't speak the language. Lots of nodding, smiling, and hoping someone else takes over. Tyrus piled on, saying Kamala treats serious assignments the way high schoolers treat homework. Wait until the last minute, cobble something together, and then laugh nervously when the teacher asks where the work is. Even when she tries to come across as relatable, it backfires. She'll talk about her favorite snacks, her playlist, or some personal anecdote, but it always lands awkwardly. Greg joked that Kamala trying to be relatable is like a robot trying to explain emotions. Tyrus said she's the only politician who could describe her morning routine and somehow make it sound like an unsolved riddle. She's not gonna run for California governor, but she's gonna do this.
I thought it was so powerful at the convention when you said you have guns. No, at the debate. At the debate,
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun owner.
I did not know that.
If
And I thought
somebody
that was
breaks in
powerful.
my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, yes. I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not.
Why is no one talking about
And how about the approval ratings? Oh, the approval ratings. Kamala has managed to break records in unpopularity, which is impressive considering the competition. Greg noted that she's pulling lower than cold French fries, while Tyrus added that even her laugh has better approval numbers than her leadership. When your main claim to fame is being less popular than the DNV, you know things have gone sideways. But as Greg pointed out, history doesn't hand out participation trophies. Tyrus said being first is only impressive if you actually do something with it. Otherwise, you're just the first one to trip over the finish line. Her attempts to project confidence are perhaps the most comedic of all. She walks into rooms with a smile so forced, it looks like it's being held up by duct tape. Greg compared it to someone pretending they know the lyrics to a song, mouthing random words and hoping nobody notices. Tyrus said it's less confidence and more like performance anxiety in real time.
the first time I've ever seen Oprah Winfrey stutter?
Yeah.
She was like, what she wanted to say, remember that stupid you said at the, which, was it the debate or was it the DNC that they drew me out and Stedman's pissed, he was double parked, waiting for this. Like she literally said nothing. She's like, Oprah couldn't, if Oprah can't save you, nobody can save you.
And then there's the obvious question. If Kamala can't handle the vice presidency, how on earth is she supposed to handle the presidency if the moment comes? Greg cracked that putting Kamala in charge would be like letting the substitute teacher take over the nuclear codes. Tyrus said it's scarier than any horror movie he's ever seen because at least horror movies end after 2 hours. They showed that behind the cackles and the cliches, there's no plan, no vision, and no clarity. Just awkward speeches, failed responsibilities, and an approval rating that could be mistaken for a weather forecast. The humiliation wasn't subtle, it was complete. Greg picked apart her speeches, her laugh, and her leadership failures. Tyrus hammered home the awkwardness, the emptiness, and the absurdity. Together, they turned Kamala Harris into the political equivalent of a blooper reel. Funny to watch, but impossible to take seriously.